Welcome back to another episode of VHS Files presents the horror section. This podcast contains spoilers, adult content, and harsh language. Listener discretion is advised. Now your hosts, Josh and Jason. Enjoy the horror. Welcome back to the VHS Files presents the horror section with Josh and Jason. And tonight we have Eric on the show with us. Eric, say hi.
Thanks for having me, guys.
It's our very special guest.
A rare guest on this show.
Someone we don't really get to talk to a whole lot. We decided we'd have him on tonight to talk about a special movie. I'm just kidding. We literally decided yesterday that we were going to watch this movie and talk about it. So.
I insist that all of my appearances are considered a special guest appearance.
All right.
Even though it's every time.
Special guest, Mr. Eric.
Yeah, it's like you get Jason, Josh, and featuring Eric.
Yeah, you've been begging me forever, and I finally caved. I'm like, fine.
Well, the reason we're here doing a horror section tonight is because Eric watched a movie and was like, hey, I watched this. Do you guys want to talk about it? And we were all like, sure, let's talk about it. So tonight, for the horror section, we're talking about Night of the Creeps.
The night of the formal is finally here. For Chris, Cindy, and JC, it's going to be the best night of their lives. But tonight is also the night of the creeps. From a world unknown comes a nightmare unimagined. First, they are under you, around you, on you, and then inside you.
You get in through your mouth, and you walk around while they incubate, even if you're dead.
They are a new breed of terror.
Hey!
They are a different kind of horror.
Zombies, exploding heads, creepy crawlies. We could have a little problem.
The creeps are taking over.
Oh, I got good news and bad news, girls. The good news is your dates are here.
What's the bad news?
They're dead.
You have never had a night like this. Night of the creeps. If you scream, you're dead.
So I wanted to ask, Eric, is this a first time watch for you?
It was, yeah. It was. This one was just I missed it, you know.
Yeah.
And so I've had it. I've had the Blu-ray for a while, and I finally got around to watching it.
All right.
You're like Josh and his stack of 4Ks and Blu-rays of movies he's never seen.
Oh, I have a ton that I haven't seen.
I buy this movie, but I'm gonna wait 6 years to watch it.
It's hard because they keep making new movies.
Yes.
Like I'd be able to get all these older movies, but they keep making new ones.
Well, it's become such a problem for me that we are probably going to have in some form, I don't know which form it's going to take just yet, but some form of a show called Josh's Own It, Haven't Seen It. And I'm just going to watch the movies I have that I own that I haven't seen, and I'm going to give everybody a review of them. So it'll work out somehow, but I've actually got a show in mind for that. But anyway, let's start talking about this Night of the Creeps directed by Mr. Fred Decker, who we've already done on the big show with Monster Squad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Wolfman's got nards.
He had actually directed Night of the Creeps first and then would go on to do Monster Squad after that. He didn't do a whole lot of directing, to be honest, after that. He's got 4 episodes of Tales from the Crypt under his belt and the infamous
Oh God!
best
Don't say it. Don't say
sequel,
it. Don't say it.
RoboCop 3.
He said it, people. I'm sorry. He said it even out loud. I apologize.
I've only seen RoboCop 3 one time, but I don't remember it being that bad. So, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah, same. I was a kid. I'm sure it's terrible. I'll trust the masses on this one.
I think I tried to turn it on, and it was like a 15-minute watch, and like, fuck this.
I only saw RoboCop when I was a kid. I didn't see the sequels until much later. So the sequels, period, just don't hold a very special place in my heart. So they are what they are.
2's all right.
Part 2's okay. It's no
It's all
part
right.
1, but it's all right. It's all right.
Well, apparently Fred Dekker has got a lot of uncredited work as well. Like he's worked on movies
yeah.
like Demolition Man, Lethal Weapon 4. I don't know what kind of credit he should have. Like, I don't know if it's for writing or whatever, but
Well, he's got that Shane Black connection.
that's right. He is notorious for working with Shane Black.
Yeah. And he did do a lot of writing, even, I mean, like you said, he didn't direct a lot, but he wrote a lot of movies. I mean, even before this, did House 2, The Predator.
Yeah.
With, I think, with Shane Black.
Yep.
Well, apparently Shane Black, his roommate at the time,
helped
him work on this script. And Shane Black cameos briefly in the police station. I missed it, but I saw this later.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as far as Night of the Creeps goes, this was released on August 22nd of 1986. I could not find what the total budget was for this movie, but I did find what its box office was. Jason, you got the budget?
Estimated budget, because I'll let you say the box office because it's going to be sad. The estimated budget was $5 million.
Wow. So on a estimated $5 million budget, only turned a box office of $591,000.
Holy moly.
I need to suggest this one to our Not a Bomb buddies.
Yeah,
it
the
needs
Not
to
a
be
Bomb
on there.
guys got to do this one.
But it was released amongst the likes of a bunch of really good horror movies around that time, stuff that was big. Maximum Overdrive, Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. And two of the really good ones here are The Fly, Cronenberg's The Fly, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 came out around this time as well. So the horror pool was deep right around this time, and Night of the Creeps probably just got lost right around in all
late
that.
80s. Man, it was hot.
That's prime time. You get into the 84 to like 88, 89 era. There's a lot of great horror movies in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see it getting kind of lost.
Well, it's funny because, and I talk about the horror movies that came around the same time as this. I had not seen this in quite some time. I did not remember anything about the beginning part with the aliens on the spaceship. And
that threw me big time.
I totally forgot about it too, dude. It's been a long time.
I turned it on last night and that scene came on and I was like, wait, did I put the right Blu-ray in? What? I did not remember any alien activity in this movie whatsoever.
Yeah, little people in suits.
And to be honest, I mean, the makeup on them is not terrible, but it's just a little jarring to see right at the beginning of a movie like this.
Yeah, it is weird. It's only there for a minute, but
so yeah, I was totally taken aback by the spaceship scene and whatnot. But then we could jump into what year is it, Jason? Did you write it down? It's like 1957 or something.
1959.
59.
It's fun that we get the period section. I like that.
Yeah,
I kind of like it.
I like it. Kind of
it's in black and white and everything.
The genres of this really kind of jump a little bit from sci-fi to horror and whatnot. And I love this whole cold open.
Yeah, that's pretty cool because that's what Dekker said he was going with. He really wanted to recreate like the B movies, sci-fi horror movies from like the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and all that stuff like that. And I have some issues later down the road with some of the parts of the movie, but that's pretty cool how he did this with, like you said, the cold opening, black and white, 1959. I mean, it looks like an old movie. It doesn't look like an 80s movie film that's supposed to be 59. It looks like it was filmed in 1959. He did a really good job.
It was an effort to fit as many B movie tropes into this movie as possible.
Right.
So like, he's really trying to just play on every cliched B movie thing, and obviously that is clear as you watch the film.
There's a specific scene in this cold open where the couple are driving to this remote location in the woods, and it reminds me of the opening of Michael Jackson's Thriller so much, how they drive up and the car dies and everything. I was watching it last night just giggling. I was like, holy crap. And then we usually delve into this a little later, but I want to go ahead and jump into it now. Almost Famous.
I know that, dude.
I don't know them. I know her. Haven't you ever heard of that guy? What's his name? That guy who was in that movie that was out last year.
I'm sort of famous for being almost famous.
Dude jumped into this earlier than ever on the show. This is
Dude, you got to prepare us for this
witnessing
shit.
history right now. I usually write my this stuff during the show while you guys are talking. I'm not listening.
Well, I kind of wanted to do a little bit of an extended Almost Famous this time because I kind of want to talk about the cast not so much the cast really, but the characters in this. Eric, you brought up that Decker wanted to pay homage to B movie horror and sci-fi and all of that. Well, this entire movie is just homage to all of that stuff. And
there's little Easter eggs everywhere.
Yeah. And the biggest reason I wanted to do Almost Famous and kind of get into the cast a little bit right here at the beginning is because our whole cast of characters are all named after famous horror directors. The cold open doesn't really have a whole lot of recognizable people in it, but I do love the entire mental patient escaped with the axe, attacks the girl in the car, along with this spaceship and this specimen that they don't want to get off of this spaceship crashing in the woods. Homage to the Blob, and I don't know if Creepshow had been out at this time, I believe. So you got the Creepshow sort of style stuff going on there.
Did it not remind you of something in a more recent movie right there?
Venom?
Oh, I was going to go with Venom because I watched it and I went, wow, did they steal this from Night of the Creeps? Because it's very a tube full of goo that's moving around and then it jumps into the guy and takes him over. I'm like, wow, that's totally Venom.
The house mother later is watching Plan 9 from Outer Space. Too. There's all these old space movie references with that stuff. I mean, and I'm not super up on that stuff, so but yeah, I'm sure. But Josh, why don't you hit us with the character sci-fi horror director?
But we are introduced to our heroes of the movie. Jason Lively, who plays Chris Romero.
I wonder where that name comes from.
George Romero. And Steve Marshall plays James Carpenter.
James Carpenter Hooper.
James Carpenter Hooper. Oh, there you go. A double whammy. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah.
And then it probably would have slipped right past me had I not heard when Chris is pining over this girl at the fraternity party that's going on. They introduce her as Cynthia Cronenberg.
That's a hard one to hide.
Yeah. I had to rewind it. I was like, did they just say Cronenberg? They damn sure said Cronenberg. And then I started doing my research for this movie, and that's when I really, I have seen this movie. It was years ago. I've probably seen it a couple of times, but not with the mindset of knowing all of these horror directors now. And just starting to find out and catch all of the names that started coming up throughout the movie. So that and Cynthia Cronenberg is played by Jill Whitlow. You got three people there that really I don't think have gone on to do much after this. So we've got a fairly big cast of unknowns. We're going to go over some more of the cast here in just a second.
There's a couple more director references. You got?
There's a few more.
We're going to get to a couple more.
Okay. There's some good ones, good almost famous options in here.
Right. Sure. And we've got a couple of players that we've mentioned on past episodes. Namely, I was about to get to Mr. Tom Atkins. So we mentioned him in our Richard Donner episode because he was in Lethal Weapon. And he's been in all kinds of crazy B horror movie stuff.
Yeah, we talked The Fog.
We did the Fog episode, yeah.
We're back to Carpenter stuff there. He's in Halloween 3, which we will eventually get to talking about at some point during this podcast. And his name is Detective Ray Cameron, which I'm guessing is after James Cameron.
James Cameron, yep.
Okay.
Yep. There's a Detective Landis.
Sergeant Raimi.
Sergeant Raimi.
This is hilarious. This guy is just putting all his buddies in the movie. It's so good.
And it's really mostly the cops and whatnot. There's another one that's Officer Craven.
There's the janitor is Mr. Miner.
Mr. Miner from Steve Miner.
Friday
the 13th.
And there's also a young lady officer. Her name is Officer Bava, Mario Bava.
Nice, yeah. The university is called Corman University for Roger Corman.
And then you've got little things in the background as well. Like they don't name these guys by name, but the Beta Zombies, one of them is Robert Kurtzman.
Yes. That man is now uber famous for everything he's done in the movie world.
But I want to get into a couple of the people that would typically be in our Almost Famous. Like I mentioned Tom Atkins, but we've also got an appearance from Mr. Dick Miller here.
Yeah.
Who did you guys have in your Almost Famous picks for this week?
Well, I also want to mention that we already said that Shane Black had a small appearance. Also,
I didn't even see him in the movie.
No,
I was looking for him.
It's quick. It's quick.
Also, Greg Nicotero and Howard Berger were zombie extras in the film.
I didn't know Nicotero was in there, but I see Howard Berger.
Yeah. My biggest one would be David Paymer.
We all picked the same one.
I think we did. And it's funny, his character's name is Young Scientist.
Yeah.
They couldn't come up with a director's name for him somewhere.
There's another director out there that could have used.
Well, I don't know, man. I mean, at the time, that was probably all the big names around that time. I mean, you could go back to.
I mean, if you put Bava in there, he could have put any
Argento.
number.
Yeah, he could have threw Argento in there. There you go. There's another one that I may be reaching for this one, but there's a spot later where Cynthia Cronenberg's cat is loose and wants in the house, and when they let it in, they call it Gordon. And I feel like that's a reference to Reanimator and Stuart Gordon, and he reanimates the cat, and the cat comes back to life later and has all the maggots and stuff crawling out of his eyes.
Well, this is interesting because I'm just seeing here on IMDb, Gordon the cat was named after film producer Gordon Carroll.
Ah, see, I was reaching.
You were reaching.
So yours is cooler, but you know.
I just thought that was a nice correlation with the cat, at least. So
sure, yeah, definitely.
But I did have other. What's it? David? Is it Paymer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or
Paymer?
I mean, he did a crap load of movies, but another person besides, and also Robert Kurtzman. But I think he's kind of super famous now. I mean, especially for people who like how movies are made.
I mean, he's a household name within like the film industry, but I don't think you would see him and be like, "Hey, that's Robert Kurtzman."
But the other one I wrote down was Suzanne Snyder. She shows up. She walks down the stairs at one segment to open the door to Zombie Brad. Because as soon as she walked down, I mean, it's been a long, and I went, "Holy shit, that's Weird Science blonde girl, dude."
You know what, dude? I knew she looked familiar, and I was looking for her through the cast list, and for whatever reason, could not figure out who she was, like what her name was in the movie. So I never figured it out. But I thought she looked familiar.
Lisa. I did her. She was in Killer Clowns, Last Starfighter, Zapped.
Killer Clowns would be what I would know her from.
But I was like, as soon as she came down the stairs, I was like, "Oh my God, I know her. What do I know her from?"
Right.
And I mean, she's only in the movie briefly. So it was like they just kind of probably stuck her in there real quick because she was in Return of the Living Dead Part 2 also.
Oh, now that you're saying that, I'm remembering that she is in all these movies, and I'm like slapping myself, like, why did I not know?
It's okay, dude. You can't be perfect all the time, you know?
Says you, Eric. Says Mr. Perfect Eric.
Oh God.
Woo. That got a little rough there. Calm down. Bring it down a notch, guys. Come on. But I think it's cool that we are all in agreement that it's David Paymer.
That dude has been in a billion things, and you'd never know his name. You could name this segment after him.
Mr. Saturday Night, Quiz Show, Searching for Bobby Fischer, City Slickers, Crazy People, State and Maine, Payback. The list goes on and on.
He's in like every movie. Yeah, basically.
And you know, it's funny. I thought I was going to have to argue with Jason on this one.
Why would you argue with me on this one?
For some reason, I thought you would have been like, "No, it's Tom Atkins. It's hands down, Tom Atkins."
Well, the thing is, but Tom Atkins was never A-list. He's just been in a lot of movies, and he's got that weird face with that mustache. It just
Well, I mean, if Jenny was on the show right now, she would be going off about how she does not understand how he became a lead actor in any movie because he's not attractive and he's an old guy, always an old guy pining after a younger woman, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll get to that in Halloween 3.
Yeah, we can get to that. But
hey, he took care of business in The Fog, though.
He did. He absolutely still going after young Jamie Lee Curtis in that one. So
yeah,
he's still doing the same thing. Another interesting note, Jason Lively, who plays the main guy here, Chris, is related to Blake Lively.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That I didn't dig into that. So
that's funny.
Apparently, and there's another Lively that's in the cast that has a very bit part, but I was doing my research on the cast members, and so lo and behold, found that they were related to Blake Lively. So she's went on to be a star, and they are forgotten, I guess.
Yeah, but what did you really know Chris from?
I don't know.
European Vacation.
European Vacation.
Rusty.
He was one of the 18 Rusties they had.
I have never seen European Vacation.
I'm just gonna say it. I don't care for him in this movie.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't feel like he brings a whole lot here.
I don't feel like he brings a whole lot as your lead character. I will give you that. But I love him and his friend together.
Yeah. Him and JC are pretty good together.
I think the way they riff off each other, or at least the way JC riffs on him, is great. And almost every word that comes out of JC's mouth is cracking me up because he's just giving Chris shit the whole time.
Yeah, it's kind of like American Werewolf in London, where the friend is more entertaining than the main guy.
Right.
Yeah. And of course, the same fate, pretty much, too.
So, but this is really just your basic 80s horror formula. Instead of at camp, you're at college. You've got your main character, Chris, pining over Cynthia Cronenberg, and JC just giving him shit because he will not approach her. And I think that makes for good comedy throughout the movie and kind of gives you a good camaraderie between all of these people. However, it suffers from the 80s, like, slag dialogue and sort of slow movement throughout the course of the movie. Like, even though it's 88 minutes long, I think there are a couple of spots within this movie that kind of move slowly when they probably could be faster paced.
Apparently the script was written in a week, according to IMDb, which I think shows a little bit. I mean,
yeah,
like you say, they're basically riffing on all these B movie tropes. So it's like, it's not the intention of the film is not to intrigue, and you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not a thinker for sure.
No, it's let's have some fun. And
they try to throw aspects of the story in there that could make it a little more layered than it should be, with Tom Atkins' character.
See, I like that stuff. I like that he was the cop that approached them in the car and was like, rejected, and he couldn't save her.
Yeah, I love the flashback scene to that where he's just hacking her to pieces in the car.
Yeah, dude. I wanted more actually from I was thinking that would end up being more a part of the final, climax of the film, that maybe as the axe murderer comes back, they end up just dispatching him with relative ease.
Right.
And he sends out some more slugs, and I was hoping for that to be like, come full circle. It's set up in the beginning, you're getting that he's tortured, and it's motivation that he wants to help these kids because he sees himself in this kid.
Well, hold on to that, Eric. Let's save it for the end of the movie, because I kind of had an idea for what you're doing when I was watching. But I get what you're going, and I thought that if I were to write this movie at the ending, I would have done something with that guy at the end of the movie. And I get what you're going. I think that's a good idea. We're gonna rewrite this. We're remaking Night of the Creeps. People, VHS Files does Night of the Creeps. We got this.
VHS rewrites.
So, but yeah, I want to hold on to that.
But from the moment you're introduced to Tom Atkins here, like, every word out of his mouth is golden in this movie.
Thrill me.
Detective Cameron?
No, Bozo the Clown.
Detective Cameron?
No, Bullwinkle Moose. Thrill me. What is this, a homicide or a bad B movie? Corpses that have been dead for 27 years do not get up and go for a walk by themselves. Thrill me. Thrill me. Zombies, exploding heads, creepy crawlies, and a date for the formal. This is classic Spanky. Thrill me.
Oh, I got good news and bad news, girls.
The good news is your dates are here.
What's the bad news?
They're dead. It's Miller time. Don't even think about it, you little son of a bitch.
Detective, thrill me.
He is funny though. The thrill me stuff, the smart ass stuff.
I don't even know where the thrill me thing comes from. It's just like he's so out of it nowadays. He's just like, I need something.
Dude, I mean, I was, as we were going through all this to dig for this movie, I read an interview with him at some film festival, and they asked him about this movie. He said, "This is my favorite film that I did."
I will have to say it's my favorite performance of his that I've seen as well.
They
Like-
said this is his favorite film because of the one-liners. He says, "I get to say all the cool shit through the whole movie."
Yeah.
And he does.
He does. He does. He gives me major Commissioner Gordon vibes in this movie. The trench coat, the mustache. I was like, this guy could be Commissioner Gordon big time.
Animated series.
Yeah, yeah.
I would say, are we doing another Nolan thing here? did Nolan steal Gordon's look from Tom
Christopher
Atkins?
Stolen?
Christopher Stolen.
Yeah, Christopher Stolen here.
I almost was wondering, like, is animated series Gordon based on, Detective Cameron here?
If it is, it
Because
just
he
makes
really
animated
looks like
series go up another notch.
Because I don't know if anybody knows the love for the Batman animated series is very much here. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
It's my favorite version of Batman,
Dude.
or the Joker.
I started watching it again.
It's amazing.
Ago.
And watching this movie though, and kind of, the dialogue is hard to resist because it's just so prominent and it's so funny a lot of the times. But they make a joke in this movie that makes me sort of have a little less respect for Jason's movie Monster Squad. Do you know what I'm talking about, Jason?
Are you talking about the thing on the wall
No.
later?
Are you talking about when they say dead people don't just get up and walk?
A
and then it shows somebody
27-year-old dead body doesn't just get up and walk away. It's they use the same joke in the Monster Squad.
walking? Yep.
And I was like, oh, like it brought Monster Squad down a little bit for me. I was like, how are you going to rehash that? I mean, like, come on.
But
This guy clearly likes putting Easter eggs into things.
Yeah,
I mean, he wrote monster. You're referring, Jason, to the squad graffiti on the bathroom wall or something.
Yep. It has Monster Squad on the wall as the guy's crawling across the floor. It says it right across the wall, right in front of him.
Yeah. And this is before that came out, right?
Yeah, this is before that came out. But I will go on record right now and tell you that's a better movie than this. So I don't care.
Yeah, I think I gotta go with Jason on this one.
Yeah,
I think Monster Squad is better.
Fuck
than this.
you, Josh. So, all right. Well, moving on from there. Well, we get this, like you said, the whole old trope: guy follows girl, wants to get girl, has to be cool to get girl. Let's join the betas.
Yeah,
and do their thing. And this is the thing. All right, you're saying the script was written in a week, right? All right, we get the betas. This movie came out after Revenge of the Nerds Part 1, and they had the alpha betas in that. I'm like, really, guys? We couldn't have named some other Greek.
Yeah, this is very much, very much. I mean, and that again is their intent, right? I mean, they're trying to just use all these stereotypes and things from movies.
I was waiting for the guys from Lambda to walk up and JC and Chris join them or something, But
this is part of why Chris and Jason Lively bother me in this movie. The main kid, he's just so dumb. Like I don't know, like just too dumb.
It kind of begs the question of like, how did these guys get to college?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
Chris is definitely played as like, even though he's a redhead, he's like the dumb blonde in this movie for sure.
No offense, Eric. No offense.
I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm offended or not, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to criticize this movie for cliches when its whole intention is to
be cliche.
Be a cliche.
Yeah. So like at first I have a knee-jerk reaction to something, but then I think about it and I go, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But the big thing that bugs me is Chris, and they just don't give me enough to root for him other than he's pathetic. And that's just not enough for me.
There's a specific scene with him that I think is really bad. And it's when he goes to, the detective's house after he finds out JC has died or killed himself, because he got possessed by one of these creatures. And he's knocking on the door. Tom Atkins doesn't want to open it. Has duct tape around the door.
Well, there's a reason.
Yeah, I know. But when he opens the door, he's like, "JC's dead." Like he has the dullest reaction to it. It's like they get into your mouth, and then they wrap themselves around your brain. And then like he's just is so bad. It's like, dude, your friend just died. I think you would be a little more upset than you're coming across right here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's supposed to be like in shock or something, but
Yeah.
He's very flat throughout the movie. I don't know. But I like that JC is the only person in the movie that can talk after getting infected or whatever.
It took him a while. I wonder if he was
able
hiding
to
it.
record that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was one thing that threw me was, okay, everybody else is now mindless zombies once they're infected by these things. But for whatever reason, JC is able to, comprehend what's going on and has enough time to leave a message for Chris. I think that kind of comes out of nowhere.
It's so funny how talking about this stuff as we like dissect these movies, it like my opinion on things just like changes from moment to moment, because one minute I think, oh, I like that because it gives JC like kind of like he kind of saves the day. They wouldn't know how to,
right.
He figures out the fire thing and all that stuff. But you're right. That's a total plot device. I mean, again, maybe that's intentional, but it doesn't make sense with the rest of the movie. It's just there to give them information. But
I will say when JC does the whole bathroom scene where the janitor, Mr. Miner, comes in, ends up splitting his head open. I love the way these things get around and like all of the shots of these things, when the people's heads split open and these things spill out, like
that's
you can see the fishing line on these things.
Sure.
For sure. But I still think they're very effective. Like it's definitely not as distracting as I thought it would be watching this now, but there's, for the most part, the effects and everything that happens throughout this movie with the effects works for me. I don't have a whole lot of problems. The end, I do have a little bit of a problem.
Well, yeah, there's some stop motion stuff that looks.
Yeah, there's some problems.
Have you seen Shivers?
Oh yes, I have seen Shivers. Yeah.
Or you seen Slither?
No, he's talking about Shivers. The Cronenberg.
Well, Slither will come up here. I'm
Yeah.
sure, but well, you talk about Shivers, you have to talk about Sliver. Yeah. But Shivers came out in 75. I just bought this movie. I haven't watched it yet, so I haven't seen Shivers, but it has slugs. Yes, it does on the cover.
I've only seen it once, so I'm not entirely sure what the species is, but
I mean, the box art and the trailer even has a girl in the bathtub with
right
slugs climbing out of it, a la Sliver. But interesting. I like the slugs. They're creepy. How many slug movies are there? We got to think of like slug
there's
movies.
Slugs.
Yeah, slugs.
Squirm, if you want to get into worms.
Yes, Squirm. I haven't seen either of those.
I've seen Squirm many
Tremors
times.
is like really big slugs, right?
And then you got Slither from James Gunn, which you kind of wonder, did he take parts from this because it's something that falls from the sky and takes over?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, all this stuff is drawing from the same.
This movie and Slither would make a perfect double bill. Like,
God, yeah, good idea.
Like you're watching the same movie twice.
Yeah, it's a double matinee. All hell slugs.
Although James Gunn is a lot more stylized than this one movie.
Yeah, very much. Yeah,
that's such a fun movie, dude.
It is. I like Nathan Fillion in that movie. He's pretty good.
Especially knowing that it's James Gunn and knowing that he's gone on to do, all this MCU stuff. And I really like, we just watched Guardians of the Galaxy 2 the other night, and his Guardians movies are some of my favorite in the MCU. So like, I'm anxious to go back and watch the older James Gunn stuff to see,
I'm anxious to see his Suicide Squad movie. It's DC, it's James Gunn. I kind of want to see what he does with that. Maybe he can turn around that fucking sinking ship.
I bet he will. So, Fillion's in that one too.
Yep.
And it might be a great movie, but Jason sent a text on our group text today that kind of sums up that whole thing perfectly.
Oh,
I'll
the
put
shitty state of DC's
right
extended universe, movie universe.
We'll share that on our social media. It was pretty funny.
There's only one female zombie in this movie, right? They're all men.
I don't even recall if oh wait, yes I do.
The girl turns at the end.
The girl
before the 360 shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Spin, which is fun as well.
But I like that, like we were talking about Easter eggs in movies, like even the bathroom scene with the Monster Squad thing. Did you read all the stuff on the wall?
I didn't.
No, I didn't.
They got Josh will know this from listening to metal and stuff like that. But we know we had Slayer, but they didn't do it. They put Striper rules on the wall where it would probably normally say Slayer. And then there's a thing that says, which I don't want to say this because it's my name, but I have a feeling it might be geared toward Friday the 13th, but it says Jason works the bone. on the wall.
Or Jason, or it could be Jason Lively too.
It could be Jason Lively. I didn't know if it was Jason Voorhees, but I was just because I was looking for everything and I just saw it being my name is Jason. It obviously jumped out at me on the bathroom wall, and I'm like, what the hell is that? I'm like, oh God, I was like, is that a Voorhees reference or Lively?
There's a lot of things jumping out at people from the walls in this movie.
Don't stick your eye up to a hole in the wall. But I was just I actually love that whole scene in the bathroom. I mean, like we're talking about JC compared to Chris's acting. JC is so much better. He would have actually been better as the main character, but it's like the American Werewolf in London, like you said.
Yeah.
The sidekick friend does such a better job than our main character.
Right.
Through that whole scene. I mean, the scene where he throws down the match and everything, it crawls up his leg and everything, and then the one shoots in his mouth from across the room.
I like all the reverse film of the things going into the mouths.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's obviously in reverse, but there's something unsettling about it.
Right.
You know?
There's a couple that are pretty obvious when Brad gets one later.
Fucking Brad, dude.
Fucking Brad.
Dude, why is there always a Brad in a movie and he's always a douchebag?
There is always a Brad, and we just watched One Crazy Summer, and there's a Brad in that movie too.
Well, one of my favorite scenes in this is one reason this movie always has stuck out to me is during the HBO Cinemax era, you'd always have the promos for the movies that are coming on at 7:00 tonight or whatever. And you'd have these, little bumper things, not full trailers, but these bumpers just promoting what was going to be coming on. I vividly remember seeing the one for Night of the Creeps quite a few times. And I think it might be because it was right before a movie we dubbed off HBO or something. So it was on that tape. And every time I would watch the specific movie, that trailer would play. And what always stuck with me throughout that little bumper was when the guy comes out of the floor, it cuts to that shot of the axe in front of the TV screen.
Yeah.
That always creeped me out when I was younger. And that little shot has always stuck with me. And I love that whole scene when he comes out, axes the house mother in the head. Like, I love that whole scene.
Yeah, there's like a split second shot of him axing her too that looks kind of gnarly, like an effect shot.
And her dog's barking the whole time. Now, I will talk about the dog at the end.
Let's talk about the cat.
And
the dog.
The cat's great. I love that scene with the cat as well. Especially, I think my correlation to the cat and the name is better than the one that they actually took, but that'll just be my opinion.
I'm just reading IMDb, so
I'm backing you up on that one, Josh. I got you.
Me too. You're right.
I like it. Oh, but yeah. But back to what you were talking about when Chris shows up to the door and with but he says Alfalfa's dead. Because the detectives called him Spanky. I was like, what the dude? I laughed out loud when that happened, but not because it was like stupid laugh. I'm like,
right,
what the fuck was that for? Just because he calls him Spanky when he's interviewing them the whole entire time. I think he actually calls him Spanky for the rest of the movie.
I know he does refer to him as Spanky a couple of times. The dialogue in this movie breeds for some great one-liners and whatnot. So I want to go ahead and jump into.
You're going to need a bigger quote.
A lot of the banter between Chris and JC we've talked about is really good. Some of my favorite lines is it's usually JC giving these to Chris, but when they're watching Cynthia and she's talking to her boyfriend who's the jock, and JC's talking about how stupid he is, and he says the guy's a bozo. I mean, he's the missing link. It's like,
oh yeah, Steve is his name Steve, the guy with the bad drawn in unibrow?
Yeah. They even make a comment about that.
I mean, it's pretty bad. And speaking of the JC one, I got the one where they're like, remember he got pissed at each other. Fuck you too. You'd try it. You'd let me. You'd want me to. And then I actually read a thing in there. They're kind of wondering if really and truly was JC trying to find a woman, or he had already found the love of his life.
I thought that too, actually.
I read that in a couple of things where people were saying
he says multiple times, like his motivation is for, it's his goddamn name,
for Chris,
is for Chris to be happy. Like he does seem like his only motivation is to make Chris happy, which would suggest like a romantic interest, perhaps, or
Sure.
Now, on the recorder at the end, he says, "I love you."
Yeah, and he doesn't seem to have any interest in girls throughout the film either. I mean, I don't know.
Now you go back.
It could be there. Does he?
So if we do a remake of Night of the Creeps, or if we rewrite it, we're making Chris and JC. JC's pining after Chris.
I like it. It
Sure.
can work. I like it.
All right, we can go there.
What you got for a quote there, Eric?
What I'm gonna need is your standard flamethrower.
Do you have the proper requisitions for that? I love his requisition though.
Yeah, shotgun to the face.
I got because it's kind of funny, like they're talking about how they're into the whole B movie thing. Is like, is this a homicide or a bad B movie?
Yes.
Yeah, right out there, making very clear about our
No
motivations
qualms about it.
Tom
Right out
Atkins
front.
might as well have looked at the camera and said it straight to the camera. Like,
He could have been.
Should have.
He could have broke the fourth wall right there, looked right at the camera, and said that would have been so perfect.
Yep. That actually would have been perfect. in our remake.
Another rewrite.
We'll
will have
look you dead in the eye.
but it would be. But he'll say, "Is this a homicide or a bad B movie remake?"
yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Now, the throw me stuff is fine. But what it pays off at the end.
Oh,
so my quote is the end when they're doing the countdown, and Chris says, "Detective, thrill me." Kaboom.
Yeah. That's good.
That shit is good.
Yep. One that Chris actually throws at JC is whenever they're going back and forth about Cynthia, and he says, "Remind me to kill you sometime." And JC instantly goes, "Hey, kill me sometime." It's really good.
While we were actually getting to that part, it's all the betas on the bus getting ready to go to their dance or prom, whatever the hell it's called. But it says, "Let's blow this pop stand. We're going to get done, dudes." And I'm like, wow. Like you said, they wrote this script in a week. I see it. I can feel it.
I mean, to be honest, for a script that was written in a week, some of the lines are golden. Some of them are not good, but some of them are pretty good.
It's better than I could write in a week. That's for damn sure.
Right.
So another good payoff is, before there's like the jock guy that says like later dude to Chris, and he gets to say it later when he kills him with the lawnmower.
Yep.
Later dude, lawnmower to the face. Also a good one.
Which was, Jason, was this movie after Dead Alive? Was that a reference to Dead Alive?
I think it is after Dead Alive. I think, shoot, you're right.
I got it.
I think it is. Go ahead, Eric. You're the.
No, Dead Alive was 92?
No.
Really?
I thought it was in the 80s. Dude, I'm old. I can't remember shit.
92 here.
Oh,
Brain Dead, Dead Alive, 92.
Yeah. So Dead Alive took it from here.
Well,
I'm sorry for our horror fans out there. My mind does. I'm getting old.
Late 80s, early 90s gets very murky.
It all
for me
just
too.
starts blending together anyway.
But yeah, that's interesting that this lawnmower killing zombies predates that.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Detective Cameron says, "I got good news and bad news, girls. The good news is your dates are here. What's the bad news? They're dead."
Yeah.
That's the quote of the film. And yeah, the tagline is, "The good news is your dates are here. The bad news is they're dead." So.
But you brought up taglines. I'll give you a couple more because that was a good tagline.
Yeah.
But the other ones are, I don't think so. Tell me what you guys think. If you scream, you're dead.
I like that
that's
because
not bad.
It plays
But
with
but that one
the
you
things
just
go
said
in your
did-
mouth.
Yeah. It'll be the night of your life. Death.
Oh, that's dumb.
That sucks.
Yeah.
That's
That
terrible.
sucks. I hate it.
Hey, they don't bother to knock.
Huh? What is
Yeah.
that even in reference to?
What are they, slightly rude?
Well,
Do they
become
lack basic manners?
Yeah. Well, they are the
Shut
betas.
up.
They're all douchebags. They just freaking bust through the glass, try to throw worms in your mouth or slugs, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, they're fucking assholes.
They are.
So,
they were.
yeah,
they're
they don't-
better.
they don't-
They're better as zombies. They're worse as humans.
That was an upgrade to slug zombie. I mean, are we really calling them zombies?
I know,
Are
like
we?
it's really like could be one thing. They're technically possessed. Like well, no, they bring them back to life.
That is true.
That is something that I kind of struggled with on this one, because I was half paying attention when it happened, but I was like, how is this guy that he buried under this house 30 years ago now coming back to life? But then they do go through and explain that they just need the body, and they'll wrap around the brain and use it as a host.
Well, because all the what we're talking about, where all the betas load up on the bus because they're all going to go get laid because it's an 80s movie. Did y'all love the little montage before that where everybody's getting ready? You had these standard 80s girl sorority house walking around in lingerie, which most women do not walk around like that at any given time.
And just showing girls in the shower,
and showing the girls topless in the shower scene, and then the guys get. I was like, and then they're there. But yeah, when they all die, the slugs just from the dog, because we talked about the cat a little bit, but the dog, which was, I don't know how y'all feel about what the cat and the dog look like when they're.
I think the cat genuinely looks pretty good. I mean, you can tell its effects, but the dog looks pretty bad.
Yeah, I can't even remember what the dog looks like. I did want to say, going on
out of your mind.
Yeah, maybe. Josh, you were saying, are we calling these zombies? Well, Detective Cameron says zombies, exploding heads, creepy crawlies, and a date for the formal. This is classic Spanky.
Yep.
So he does refer to them as zombies.
I don't even remember that line. I think I was getting.
It's after Chris drops Cynthia off at the sorority house, and he's walking back. He runs into
the most interesting stuff in this is what do they call him? The psycho,
the lunatic.
Yeah.
This that to me, that's the most interesting part of this movie is it came down in 59. It caused this trauma for the detective, and it's all coming back,
Well, there's a couple more lines I want to put out there. One of them is when she wants to leave early in the movie whenever the guy's going to investigate, and she goes, "I'll even let you fondle my breast." I thought that was pretty funny. And then there's a point where the cops are interviewing Chris and JC, and they're talking about all of the sororities and everything, and they start rolling off all the names of all the sororities and the frats and everything. And I think it's JC. He goes, "It's all Greek to me." I laughed out loud when that happened. I thought that one was pretty funny.
It's pretty good. Also, it's pretty insane that they were gonna go steal a corpse from
the morgue.
Yeah,
the morgue. Like
that's what I was getting to. Is like,
holy crap, dude!
Why is this even on campus? Like,
well, you're in a university. You got medical students there, so they may have a medical lab with dead bodies.
You clearly have scientists there at the university. They're doing some kind of studies, and they've got this body on ice and everything. We never really talked about that, but
who played a major part of this movie so much that they didn't even give him a character name other than Young Scientist, but he plays a major part.
Young Scientist is really the backbone of this film.
Yes, he carries it. He carries it.
I like when he's walking through the morgue and he's got the forceps still hanging from his neck where they did the autopsy.
That's the other thing. How many times did somebody walk by? Was it when Johnny was unfrozen and he walked? People walk by. They walk by him. Was it Mr. Minor?
Yeah.
The one guy that says, or have a good night or something, when the cop just walks right
the
past
janitor
him.
guy.
The janitor, just walks right past him. And I'm like, does people not notice these
That guy was funny. Like, he had like a weird vibe to him, right? Like, he got a kick out of the kids.
The janitor Mr.
Guy.
Minor.
Screaming like banshees. Like, I don't know.
Screaming like banshees.
So hung up on that. I was like, he makes so many references to it too. And I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah, it's super weird. I thought he was cracking me up, dude. Like, as far as humor in this movie, just how weird he was, and like seemingly on a different page than everybody else the whole time. Right. Anytime he was on screen.
Did he say that more than Detective Cameron said "thrill me"?
No, he did not.
I swear to God, he kept saying, "I'm screaming like banshees," over and over. And I'm like, how many times is he going to say this? Is this going to rival "thrill me"?
It really tickled him. It really got him.
When I watched this, it's been a long time, and I was trying to remember this movie. But this, even back to the scene where Chris shows up at his house, I cannot remember this, but I honestly don't think I would have as a kid, like a teenager watching the movie. Of him peeling the duct tape off the door, and then when he grabs his stuff, he walks over to the stove and turns all the gas off and shuts the door. It's like, that motherfucker was about to end it.
Oh,
Dude, I didn't even pick up on that.
Me
Holy
neither.
shit, guys!
Whoa,
Come on,
buddy! I thought
Did neither one of you pick that up?
I did not.
great work, Jason. But I was thinking he was doing it to block the slugs.
So
but
did I.
maybe he didn't know about the slugs yet at that point. I don't know. And then you say, well, why didn't the gas make you think there? And I was thinking he was setting it up to like blow the place up, but then the movie kept going and I forgot about it.
Yeah, because he's sitting.
I was thinking he was turning the gas on at that point, but you're
No.
right. He's turned it off. He was
shut
trying
the oven.
to end things, which
Yeah,
you know is
well,
why
'cause-
he's happy to do it at the end of the movie, I guess.
Yeah, because the whole thing,
already-
he's all this stuff is bringing all these memory backs of Pam dying. It was his high school love. She broke up with him.
Damn.
What he had to do to the lunatic guy coming, all this stuff messing with him. I mean, he was ready. He was going to end it. He was like rolling the window up in the car with the water hose and shutting the garage door. Basically, is what he was doing.
You're right. You're right.
This movie just went up a notch for me, actually.
No, but honestly, it again, that's the most interesting stuff to me, and that does make it more interesting.
Yeah.
But I would have not paid. I mean, I was definitely a teenager when I saw it. I was in high school.
Well,
And
I
that's
was
one reason why I don't
39 when
remember.
I saw it, and
Yeah.
well, actually, I was 38 at the time. But happy
But-
birthday!
Happy birthday, Eric!
Thank you. But I didn't pick up on it as a full-grown adult.
But that makes sense at the end of the movie, which we'll talk about here shortly. That's why. I mean, he was already ready to check out. All this stuff was bringing back too many painful memories. He was ready, like, hey, I'm done. I'm going to gas myself. I'm either going to die from inhaling the gas or I'm going to get blown up.
Well, he keeps asking people to thrill him, and no one is.
Right.
So what's the point?
He just needs that thrill, man.
He needs the thrill, and
That thrill is gone.
I mean, shit. Wow, I'm still reeling from this revelation.
Yeah.
That you just
So
set
you're
in my lap.
welcome. Here, I take a bow. You're welcome, guys. But then we find out, we go down to go see our good buddy from Gremlins, Dick Miller, and we need to requisition a fucking flamethrower because we found out through JC dying in his video, or his not video, but his audio recorder, which he's the only person who had any kind of cognitive brain activity after taking in a slug, let him know that fire kills them.
Yeah. I love any scene Dick Miller's in, man. Like, he just kind of makes the scene better.
Yeah, he's a fun presence to have.
But I like that Brad gets his. He gets that shotgun to the head and then the flamethrower to the head. It's a great little icing on the cake of just watching that douchebag get it at the end of this.
Well,
once things crack open and start going at the sorority house, it's a lot of gore and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You're pretty much at the end of the movie when everything really is found out. Like most movies, you had all these little scenes throughout and then spread out all over town, but this thing really just took place in one area, and then when it all just started, and then it lasted for like 15 minutes and it was over.
Yep.
So
I would like to ask the ending. Which ending do you guys have? Which did you watch? Because there is an alternate ending to this movie.
yeah, there was a theatrical ending, and then the ending Fred Decker wanted, which is on the Blu-ray.
Yeah, the Scream Factory Blu-ray has both cuts. And
Okay, I didn't know there was another ending. My ending was after the explosion. Tom Atkins is a bit zombified, and he walks and he falls over.
That
and
is
his
the
head
Decker
splits.
ending that he wanted.
Okay.
Yeah, you watched the director's ending. Yep.
Hey, so what's the theatrical then?
Mine had the
Happy
director's
ending?
ending too. No, it was actually a very horrible ending. That's why Decker wanted it changed for the Blu-ray. It was bad.
The movie ends bleak either way you cut it. So the theatrical cut is all this shit goes down at the sorority house. It all plays out pretty much the same way. Basement goes up in flames, detective, thrill me, and then we're done. And then at the end, it's happy ending with Cynthia and Chris. She looks down and the dog's there, and a dog spits a worm towards the camera. You're to assume that it went in Cynthia's mouth, and then that's the end of the movie.
That's pretty awesome. I wouldn't mind that either.
Yeah,
honestly.
but Decker hated the idea. They said they just like stuck it on the end of the movie, and he was like, he hated it. That's why when they did the whole Blu-ray re-release, he's like, I want the original ending. And you get to see Tom Atkins again. So
yeah, I mean, both are kind of a bummer, but that's traditional for a horror monster
Well,
movie.
also
but-
the director's ending ties everything together in kind of a nice little bow for you, because you've got all of this stuff with the aliens in the spaceship at the beginning, which is pretty much left to its own devices after that.
Mm-hmm.
So the theatrical doesn't have the ship coming back.
Nope.
Because the ship comes back.
That ends with the dog.
Okay, so yeah, it cuts to black when the worm
Yep.
spits out.
When they go down to the dog, he spits a worm out and it's cut to black. Credits.
A bit of behind the scenes information: that spaceship was reused in an episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Of course it was.
I was like, holy shit,
That's
really?
awesome.
But I want to talk. Eric had touched on this earlier in the episode about how would we rewrite this thing with the axe murderer come back, and he's dispatched quickly. Detective Cameron shoots him in the head. He knows why he's dead because he buried him in the ground where they built the sorority house. He came out, killed the house mother.
Yep.
But we get, they're killing all the zombies, and then they realize that all the slugs are going into the basement because that's where the stash of brains were from earlier in the movie. The girl said, "Hey, you got to put those in the basement. I don't want them up here." And we all know how zombies love brains.
I got this box of brains. Where do I put it?
Oh, yeah, not up here. But we see Chris, Cynthia go down there. We think they're going to dispatch him, but then you realize Detective Cameron's already down there, and he's got the gas, and he's throwing gas can around. And you see the corner with the big pile of slugs, which totally, again, like it'd been a while, Slithers totally stole that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's a big James Gunn's, like, he probably loved this movie growing up, so maybe that's why he put it in there. But where Eric was talking, like, I think the axe murder should have had a bigger part of it because it was a big part of Detective Cameron's life. I mean, that's why he was ready to end his life earlier with everything going on. But I would have liked to have seen, all this going on. He knew he had buried him in the house. We're in the basement. I would have liked to have seen the slugs there, and then the slugs open up and see the axe murderer walk out of the slugs.
Yeah.
And him have to confront his past.
Yeah,
I
would have.
That would have been
to,
better.
Yeah.
Him dispatch the axe murderer there.
Yeah, I would have liked. Yeah, the axe murderer to come back at the end rather than the middle. He could have killed anybody in that middle section and learned about the slugs and that kind of stuff.
What if?
Oh God! Here we go. Is Keanu Reeves in this?
What if they introduce this character at the beginning? It's this story thread throughout, but it's just hinted at, and the movie ends on a cliffhanger of they think they've gotten all of them, and then the house mother scene happens, and the movie ends with the axe murderer killing the house mother.
I like that too.
That's pretty great, actually.
I like that one too.
Yeah, that I like that a lot.
That's a good one.
Yeah, you kind of forget about him. You know what I mean? And then right at the end, you get that.
Yeah.
That's that final scare. I like that.
Yeah, I like it.
Or even that shot of the axe, like in front of the TV, like that's the last shot you see of the movie. That
the last frame of the film is her face splitting open.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah,
that would be good.
Go.
Yeah.
Anybody want to fund this project for the VHS Files?
We just need $5 million.
Let's just, on that note, let's get to our good, bad, and the ugly.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
Why? There you go, Eric. There you go. That's Eric. That's why he's the guest host tonight, is for that reason. That's why he's here, folks. We paid extra for that.
For me, the good in this is all of the dialogue between characters. Tom Atkins, like, it's cheese, it's 80s cheese, but it works so well in this movie. I'm loving all the dialogue between everybody for the most part. There's some, one-liners that may not work as well as others, but for the most part, the reason I'm loving this movie is A, the gore, and B, the dialogue. So dialogue plays an important part in that. The bad for me is, I don't know if I really have a bad per se. Like, I enjoyed this movie rewatching it a whole lot more than I expected to. It's not to say that some of the script isn't bad, like some of the script is bad, but I would say the ugly is that fucking dog. Like the puppet work on that dog is terrible.
Yes. So, we can be in agreement on that one, Josh. Even Decker hated it.
Yeah.
Went on record, he hated the puppet.
So, That would be it for me. Like, I'm sure there's something bad that I could say about this movie, but I got so caught up in watching it that I was just like, this is great. I don't know why I don't like this movie more and watch it more often, because I had a blast watching it this time. So, Jason, go ahead.
My good is kind of a couple things you touched on. I like the 80s cheesiness of it. I mean, I loved all the 80s B movies and stuff like that. I love the homage to the B movies from the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. It's pretty cool. You pick up on all the use of the director's name. It's kind of fun. It makes the movie fun. It's an okay movie for the 80s to me. But those are my good things about it. The bad, I would have the pacing. It's a little weird, and I agree with what people said about it. It's been a long time. I mean, I was probably in high school last time I saw this movie, so that's well over 25 years ago. So when I watched it this time, it was almost like seeing it again for the first time and remembering scenes just a couple of minutes before they would happen. So,
right.
But watching it again, it was like, ooh, this is kind of rough, but I understand why people like it. It's like people who love, like I love Evil Dead 2. I love the stuff. I love Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and a lot of people think those movies are horrible, but I think they're great.
This is right there with like Killer Clowns for me. Like, it's everything about it is in every aspect not good, but it's so good that I just eat it up every time I watch it.
My ugly agreement with you, Mr. Browning, the dog puppet is fucking horrible.
Yeah, get that thing out of here.
It is bad. I wish they could have done something better. I mean, even the cat was not great, but it did do a.
But it only had like a brief little moment in there. Like, you just get this nice shot of it and you're done. Like, the dog plays a bigger part, and the animatronic and the makeup stuff for it, it had too much screen time to be something that you could just brush off.
That's what I'm saying. For the amount of screen time, and that they ended up using the dog for the theatrical release for the stinger ending type thing, you think they would have put a little more design and effort into it?
Yeah.
I mean, and along with some of the practical effects, I mean, even the cutaway when Brad's head explodes and they catch him on fire, you definitely tell that's just a dummy. I mean, it's bad. and the fact with I know you like the alien suits, but you can see the zippers on the back of them, man. Come on.
Hey, don't try to understand alien biology, okay? They might have zippers.
Right.
Oh yeah, because when they unzip, they could change into whoever they want.
They might have zippers just naturally in their body. So
there's actually one thing that stood out to me as far as the makeup stuff goes is when the bus crashes, when the dog runs in front of the bus.
The driver.
It cuts to the driver's face, and like for no real apparent reason, it's a fake head.
Yeah, with big white eyes.
Like, you could have just had the regular actor in there. You didn't need that.
Hey, you could have literally just took the still from when Large Marge's face gets really big and Pee-wee's Big Adventure and throw that right there. That's what they tried to do with a man's face. It was bad.
All right, so my turn. Is it my turn?
Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
Okay, so good. I'm gonna say I got two. I'm gonna say the Detective Cameron story, just the through line through the different time periods and that kind of stuff. I dig that. I've already said that. I'm gonna say, as much as we're knocking some of the effects, I think I'm gonna say effects for good. Given the budget, it's fun and it's gory and it's bloody, and that's what we're here for, and I enjoyed that. The bad is JC thinking the slug would cross in the same place in front of the bathroom stall. Like, you can just, like, he ran by there once, he's a slug, he'll definitely run by there in the same spot. That doesn't make sense.
I think he was going for that when he put his hand there, the slug was going to attack his hand. He was luring it there with his finger.
You can't save this one.
Yes, I just
no, it was on a track and he knew it. Anyway. And ugly, I'm just going to say that the movie's shallow, and I know it's not trying to be more than that, but I wish it had a little more there. And I don't have the nostalgia for it because I just saw it. So, I think this, like you say, this is one of those where, if you watch this when you were younger, you comparing it to something like Evil Dead, I feel like Ash is more compelling of a character.
Oh, for sure.
And you know what I mean? And you can compare it because they're both kind of low budget with some sketchy acting and some stuff like that. But there's just no one here, even, Detective Cameron. It doesn't quite hold me. But it was a fun watch either way.
Yeah, I think movies that came out close to this era, like I mentioned, the stuff, and I love those movies. I've watched them many times, and I know Josh loves, or he doesn't love it, but he really likes this movie. I think it's down on my list compared to those movies who came out about the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't say this is in the high echelon of movies from this time for me, but just watching it this time, I had a lot of fun with it. It was working for me. So, I mean, it's definitely, I would say it's gone up a notch in my book, but it's still not up there.
Especially after that suicide revelation.
Yeah, I'm about to say,
for sure.
I'm glad I could help you guys. Now you have a better appreciation for a movie that I think is so-so.
Well, this is a horror movie, so we are going to get to
Top Kills.
All right, Eric, you want to throw your top kill out there?
Well,
are we all going to have the same one?
I don't know. I have two just in case. Old Jason style.
You're pulling a Jason.
Yes, I'm rubbing off on you. I like it.
I'm gonna say the psycho zombie kill, where the cops shoot him, lights coming through the bullet holes, head spins around, and then Tom Atkins blows his head off, and worms squirm out of it. That's gonna be my top kill.
Jason, your top kill.
Top kill. I'm going lawnmower, because who doesn't love to see things get killed with a good old fashioned push lawnmower?
Reference to Point Break there.
Right.
Kind of.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's just awesome to die by a lawnmower blade. Just think about it. I mean, we even throw Sling Blade in there. He even just kills him with the lawnmower blade in his hand.
Eventually, on the horror section, we're going to have to get to the mother of all lawnmower kills on Dead Alive. So,
hobo with a shotgun as well.
We also got a cool one on Maximum Overdrive.
So, well, that one kind of happens off screen. It
doesn't have, but it's the fact that things are killing people. It's awesome. I love that movie. It's better than this movie. I don't care what you say. But that's my top kill.
Ooh, I don't know. I could argue with you there.
But see, again, it's a nostalgia thing. I loved that movie as a kid. So, but go ahead, Josh. That's mine.
My top kill is going to be the house mother scene. Just that scene in general, and her death in there. Like, I love the thing coming out of the flood. Now, I will say the house mother probably could have reacted differently and got up and ran away. She just kind of sits there and screams and lets the dog bark. But
what's she gonna do? Yeah, she's an old lady.
But I love the whole him coming through the floor, the shot of the axe and the TV, and then the axe coming down on her head. That's by far the biggest one that stands out to me.
Well, since no one said it, I'll give my second one. Just a little bonus shout out.
Oh, hell no. You get one.
No. No, don't use my rules against me.
Don't use Jason's rules against Jason.
There you go.
I like Brad getting his head split open with the gun and then getting flamethrowered, because Brad was such a giant dick.
Yeah.
It was very satisfying.
I got a runner up for top kill. Pamela at the beginning with the crazy guy hacking her up in the car. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Why does Josh like when women are murdered?
Do we need to talk to Jenny? She may be in danger.
You don't own an axe, do you, Josh?
Jenny's downstairs. I promise.
In how many pieces?
She's in that room, and that room, and that room over there.
Let's just say this: we're gonna need multiple stretchers to take the body parts out of here.
Nice. All right, well, that's gonna do it for our conversation about Night of the Creeps. Eric, thank you for bringing this up, and I don't know. Jason apparently didn't have as good of a time watching this as I did, but I really enjoyed watching this time, and I will probably be watching it again sooner rather than later now, because I just
thanks guys for watching it and talking about it with me.
Yeah,
having me on as a special guest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate this. The thing, don't get it wrong. I don't hate the movie. It's just not that nostalgic for me. It's still a good B movie. I mean,
definitely not nostalgic for me either. It's just, like I said, this watch just I saw something in it I had never seen before, so I enjoyed it thoroughly. But that'll do it for our discussion about Night of the Creeps. We hope you guys enjoyed listening to us talk about this one. Join us for our next horror section whenever that happens. And until then, be kind.
Rewind.
Rewind! Get out, bitches. It's over.
You've been listening to the VHS Files Presents The Horror Section. We drop new episodes every Friday, so make sure you're subscribed and leave us a rating and a review wherever you get your podcast. Interact with us on all social media platforms at VHS Files Podcast. Email us your questions, comments, and movie suggestions at vhsfilespodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back.
Fucking up the ending.
I'm fucking
You're
up
fucking
the ending.
up the ending. Just like Frank Decker, you ruined the ending. I hope we cut this ending out because this is
This is horrible.
terrible.
Shit reference.
I think I like this movie better.
I love you, but you have shit taste in movies, man. That's all I'm gonna say. Shit reference.
We're not supposed to tell him that to his face.
Oh, we were supposed to keep that a secret. Okay,
It might
I can
hurt
go
his
with that. I
feelings.
can go with that with a solid number 2. I
Yeah.
like it.
Everybody loves a solid number 2. Am I right?
Solid number 2s are always the best. Shit reference.
Sliver shiver, 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 sliver shiver.
Fuck you and you who are your blah blah blah. I'm gonna stick this in your bunghole. Shit. I'm like, damn.
Oh, so good. I got a funny giggle. All right, real funny giggle.